the glass style. Do you do things a little bit differently stylistically on the pairing wines?
You know, we do. The wines we make for Jonata, specifically, if we're going to talk about the pairing red and the pairing Sauvignon Blanc, you know, are a little bit more structured. They might be what I would call a little bit more unforgiving in their structure. They require age, or they require decanting, or they require some serious protein in the food. The pairing, we kind of always made the pairing red specifically to be a little softer, to be a little bit more approachable, you know, with thoughts for the restaurant as far as pop and pour, table side. At the same time, the pairing is really interesting because it has the same complexity and the same kind of soul, I would say, that the Jonata and Hilt wines do. They're not all about simple fruit. They're not sugar and spice and everything nice. Our wines are interesting. Our wines are complex. You know, our Pinot Noir has what we call that dark side of Pinot, you know, the earthiness, the spice, the sous bois, all those things. And, you know, they're not simple wines. They over-deliver in the complexity and quality categories. And for me, they're interesting in that they can also, you know, beyond just going, you know, by the glass at restaurants, even for collectors, people who want to age these wines in the cellar, they go for a decade. You know, the 05 for us is still very, very complex and beautiful in the cellar. The 06 is still opening up. The 07 is still young. So they represent a really interesting kind of contrast between approachability, but also substance, depth, complexity, and ageability.
Great. Natalie, want to ask
Yeah, I mean, so obviously pairing red is our #1 seller. I would love for you to go through the blending process of this. What makes the pairing red so special? What does your team do? You know, sometimes it's a little aloof. You know, it just says California, it just says pairing. What is it?
Yeah, I totally get it. The mystery can be confusing, but I also think that's its strength, to be honest. Actually, these are barrels of pairing red right here. These are the 2019 pairing red barrels. So, you know, we make about 50 to 60% of the wine here in the estate for the pairing red. And they tend to be vineyards that we leave and ferment in ways that they don't extract as much tannin. So we're able to keep them a little bit more light, a little bit more fresh. And like I was saying, avoid some of that more kind of foreboding, like kind of evil tannin. You know, we want to keep it soft and keep it structured. Occasionally we will blend in some like more Merlot in options, sometimes more Cab Franc. We play with really a base of Cabernet Sauvignon with the wine we produce here. And we bring in some juice and some grapes from other parts of the state. Because to me, as a blender, as someone who kind of was trained in the Bordeaux mindset, blending is key. You know, make a complete and fascinating whole. And so we take our Cabernet Sauvignon based blend, which is really more earthbound, more, I would say, more structured, more fresh. Our acidity down here tends to be a little bit higher, and a little bit more of that herbal kind of bittersweet baking chocolate, all the things I love about Cab. And then we bring in some Northern California fruit, which is more about fruit power, that kind of big, dense blackberry fruit. And we put them together, and to me, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. It's you really get this marriage, and you get this creation of a wine that for me is truly Californian. So though I understand the concern about the California designation, I actually find that to be the strength of that wine, because there really aren't many wines like that, with the power, density of the north, with the kind of the bone, the structure from the south, with freshness and structure and cool climate characteristics.
I couldn't agree with you more. I also go back to our other core wine is the pairing Sauvignon Blanc, which in a lot of markets are just now getting reintroduced. It's really one of my favorite wines because it has a little bit of old world meets new world. Go into the pairing Sauvignon Blanc a little bit and tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the pairing Sauvignon Blanc is it's unique in this world. It's another wine that you won't find anywhere outside of these cellars. You know, about 80% of that wine is coming from Santa Barbara County, which for me makes the finest Sauvignon Blancs in the United States right now. You know, it's the diurnal shift we deal with here, which is, you know, really hot days and very cold nights at both Jonata and where we purchase some fruit from Happy Canyon out further east. And what you get when that happens is you get this really kind of ripe quality. There's this sensation of something really ripe and tons of fruit and a little bit tropical. But then because it gets so cold at night, you actually maintain the herbaceous quality and the kind of cooler qualities of Sauvignon Blanc, which can be, I mean, so savory and so delicious. And you have that dichotomy again between the really dense fruit and the really like, you know, streakingly high acidity, that really wonderful freshness that keeps it in balance. And then we actually bring some fruit in from Northern California again to bring a different level of tropical, you know, almost like a pineapple quality to the blend. And it's really wild. You know, the pairing Sauvignon Blanc is made to be consumed, you know, fairly early in its approachability. We opened up the 09 a couple days ago. I opened up the 2010 and the 11, and they're still so fresh. So there's such kinetic energy in those wines, just based on the blends and again, the cold nights we're dealing with down here, that's really a special blend. I think there's something in it for everyone, even people who say I normally don't like Sauvignon Blanc. You know, it's like, if I had $1 for every time someone told me that, I'd be wearing a nicer shirt. Let's put it that way. But it's a white that appeals to everybody. And to me, it's also a white that doesn't have a season. It's never out of season. It's a summer wine. It's a winter wine. It's pretty spectacular in that sense.
One of the things that, you know, I've only been on now for a few weeks, but one of the things that I'm finding out more and more is that, you know, the thing that we run throughout the whole program is that we keep a pretty deep library. And you've been talking about, you know, 04 pairing reds and 09 pairing Sauvignon Blancs. Like it's really incredible for wines at this price point to showcase some time on them, right? And showcase what they can be and how they can grow and age with us. Is that similar, you would say, with the pairing across the board, Pinot, Chard? I mean, are we able to take a look at some of these back vintages and go along in age as well?
Sure. I prefer the pairing Chardonnay and the pairing Pinot Noir young, but I also tend to prefer domestic Pinot and Chard young. I like the vibrancy. I like the energy. I like that freshness. That being said, you know, the 2014 pairing Chardonnay is gorgeous today. And, you know, like the 2011, 2012 pairing Pinots are still stunning. They've just moved to earth. And I mean, I love them both, but for me, I like the pairing Chard, pairing Pinot in the first, you know, 5 years of their lives is my preference. But will they last longer? No question.
I mean, go into more about the Pinot and the Chard now. I would love your take on. I think it's a whole different program than the red and the Sauvignon Blanc. I kind of put them in two different camps. The red and Sauvignon Blanc are right here, and then the Pinot and Chard from Santa Rita Hills are in another space. So you got it. What do you think about those two? Yeah.
So, you know, the pairing Pinot and pairing Chard are all made in our cellar here. So they're 100% produced under this roof. You know, and with to understand those wines, you have to understand the Hilt. And, you know, the Hilt, our approach to Chardonnay is electricity. I mean, extreme electricity. Acid freshness to the point of, you know, sometimes we have conversations in-house during bottling, like, do you think if we put this wine in bottle, it will shatter the glass? That kind of freshness, which I love. And with Pinot Noir, we actually look for what I call the hint of corruption with Pinot, which is, I mean, Pinots that are incredibly soft and luscious, those are really fun, right? But it's easy to forget that that's not really what Pinot is. Pinot is really a substantial grape in the sense that it has fruit for days, but it also has this complexity and nuance that no other grape in the world can have. And so our approach with the Pinot was really to capture that so that you set the hook in the sense that if you're having a glass of our Pinot, at first you think, wow, there's really nice dark fruit. And you take a sip and then wow, what was that? It's gotten spice. It's gotten, pure black pepper. It's a little gamey. It's a little salty. It has all the wonderful things that Pinot can be. And by the time you finally wrap your head around what's going on in the glass, the bottle's gone and you start again. So the pairing really has both of those factors. The pairing Chardonnay is the same thing. It's fresh. You know, it's light on its feet. It embraces the California sunshine, but it can't help but be blessed with the acidity from our soils and our climate. The Pinot, I mean, it's dark. It's dark fruit, but it's surprising. It's almost a chameleon in the sense that you get that really dark fruit and you smell and your nose tells your brain like, uh-oh, here comes something big and brooding. But then you taste it and it's fresh and it's kind of buoyant. And, you know, we use a little bit more press wine for our Pinot Noir to give it a little bit of added depth. And because our press wine here for Pinot is delicious. It's luscious. And so we put a little bit more of that into our pairing Pinot is kind of the main difference in those styles, but it still embraces that dark side of Pinot.
And obviously we have the Hilt Estate Chardonnay and Hilt Estate Pinot, which is our flagship wines. Those are the wines that we hang our hat on for our vineyards, Bent Rock and Radiant, out, you know, right there from where you're at. And right there. So I go back to every time I show those wines, it's really incredible to see that there's the same sense of place for those wines, but they couldn't be, there's a difference and it's all, I think, based off of the fruit and the winemaking. Can you go a little bit deeper into how you subset the wines to go into pairing and the Hilts, and what makes a wine that is a pairing wine versus a wine that's above that level?
That's what I'm doing today. For better or worse, that's what I'm doing today. My teeth are about to get angry with me. But, you know, it's a question of, you know, stem inclusion. We don't usually use much stem inclusion in pairing for Pinot Noir. We find those tannins can be a little bit too complexing, too difficult. So we usually destem the pairing fruit. We'll have a couple blocks that maybe are younger, you know, like grafts, which don't ever get quite as serious, I would say, as some of the older vines we work with. So they tend to stay kind of that focus on buoyancy and freshness. As far as Chardonnay goes, it's a question of pressure, of how much we press, of whether we include press wine, pressed juice back in with it. And for the pairing, we normally don't. We don't want to have that added layer of structure. We want it to be a little bit more approachable. But it's really a question of, we go barrel by barrel. And I mean, here, that is, you can see how far that door is. That's all Pinot and Chardonnay behind me. So we have a couple hundred barrels to taste through over the next couple days. And we'll go through, and if a barrel, you know, is more structured, if it's more kind of needs more time, we'll leave it into the Hilt. If it's ready to go, if it's that purity, that focus, that freshness, will go directly to pairing. Is it the best way I can say it? Sorry if that's a little convoluted, but it's I guess my brain just really doesn't want to get into that process, and I'm trying to push it off as long as I can, because it's gnarly. It's a long one.
Yeah, I could imagine. And I mean, the wine's obviously punched above the weight class, and there's such quality to these wines. I do think that there's a space for them, but how do you know, I drink them they're an everyday drinker, right? Is there any more, like for the Chardonnay, for instance, obviously the Hilt Chardonnay, when you taste the Hilt Estate Chardonnay versus the pairing Chardonnay, it's a different wine, but it's so, what makes it the Hilt Estate Chardonnay? What makes it the pairing Chardonnay? Truly.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit more sweet fruit. There's a little bit more immediate pleasure, is what I would say. It's a little bit more hedonistic, I would say. The Hilt Estates are really, there's a beautiful, elegant austerity to them. The pairing Chardonnay, we don't really build them that way. We build them more for that immediate pleasure. That's the big difference for me. You know, and I think an interesting thing that people don't talk about is we bulk a lot of wine out. If there are barrels we come across and there's no pleasure, we don't use them. Right. We bulk them out, and people buy them and put them in a bottle and sell them for $50. You know, like we just, that's not what we do. Yeah. So there really is a style and a presence to pairing that's intentional. It's all done with intent. There's nothing that's accidental. Everything is done here and tasted and retasted and blended and reblended. And if we're not happy with things, they go bye-bye. They go far away from us. But back to your question, yeah, the pairing Chard is just, there's that, for me, when I taste it, there's an initial breadth to the fruit. There's a big spectrum of kind of sweet fruit qualities to them.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. One of my favorite wines of the pairing is the Syrah, which originally, as many of you guys don't know, we make a pairing Syrah. I think there's only California gets it. We do some special orders of it, but next vintage, we're going to have enough to share with the rest of the country, which I'm really excited to share that Syrah because it's truly one of the best wines to drink. You want to go into the Syrah and what makes that Syrah so freaking good?
Yeah. So I apologize. The fans just kicked on. Can you hear them?
A little bit.
Is it okay?
Cool. Yeah. It's
okay.
Hardly at all.
Yeah. So the pairing Syrah it's an astonishing wine. It punches so far above its weight class. It's basically a baby La Sangre de Jonata. It has that same kind of savage quality. It's really spice driven and gamey, but it has that everything that makes Syrah so amazing, right? The smokiness, the cured meat qualities. It's hard to really even get into, And I always joke, but once I start writing tasting notes and start going through all these kind of snobby tasting terms, I have to go home and shower for like 3 days. So I'm not going to get into it today. But look, the pairing Syrah it's just a slightly more reserved kind of sangre. Really, it's so sophisticated in its kind of structure. It goes through everything, and it opens in the glass kind of like a flower, just slowly blooms. And the pairing Syrah, the fact that it's going to be becoming a little bit bigger, 600, 700 cases, is good news. We love having more of it here in the cellar because selfishly we drink the hell out of it.
Yeah. It's it's just a really incredible what you've been able to put together with these wines. We talk about their that ode to the kitchen, right? This is kind of the love child of Jonata and the Hilt, right? The pairing is. So we appreciate you taking us through those. Want to kind of put a bit of a bow on the meeting here and discuss one program that we've put together that we're running right now with all of our distributors across the country and our retail accounts. It's called the Pairing Cut program. We talk about our connection with restaurants and the fact that the majority of our business has been through the on-premise historically. And we know a lot of those folks are in tough times right now. So we've developed the Pairing Cut program to donate $1 for every single bottle sold across the country of the pairing wines from beginning of April to the end of June. We're going to be donating that dollar to Restaurant Workers Community Foundation at the end of this quarter. So we really appreciate all of our partners that are contributing to this and being a part of it. And we're thankful that we can still tell our story and get these great wines that Matt and his team put together out to a lot of our folks across the country. So if you've got any questions on the Pairing Cut program or anything else we do, the door is wide open for Natalie, Matt, and myself.
And I want to say one thing really quick, just in kind of in summary a little bit about the pairing that I should have touched on earlier. And I think people throw the term around the term food wine around a lot. And it's an asinine term. It's ridiculous. It's like saying a head hat or a foot sock, right? Like, of course, wine always goes with food. There's a food for every wine and a wine for every item. But in the case of the pairing, I think with restaurant accounts and whatnot, I think it really shows in the bottles that they are incredibly kind of malleable with what foods they go with. And the fact that they're popping and pouring, without a lot of decanting, without a lot of hubbub around them, is a really important part of the story that I should have told earlier. But anyways, just wanted to get that in before I forget that they really are made for the restaurant. They really are made for cuisine. They really are made to be popped and poured by the glass table set.
Yeah, and I totally agree. One of Jenny P says a question on the chat board. She goes, hopefully not too dumb a question, but where does the name come from, Matt Dees?
Yeah, so it was, initially back in 2005, that story I just told, that the fact that these wines are just so savory, we were really gearing it towards by the glass programs in restaurants, that the pairing of food and wine, spelled as in the paring knife in the kitchen, was just it was a no-brainer for us. It was the right name, and we're not violent people, I swear, but we do have a knife on the label.
And I go back to, obviously, the pairing cut. It's just, I believe we were all looking at ways to give back, and we've done a lot of different things at the winery and through other organizations. And this is just, we feel like there's so many retailers that are using wines at that price point to sell to other people. And also when a person comes into a retailer, or a person has that space, they can give back on their own because they feel like they're doing a little bit, a little part of it. You know, it's just a small little gift from us.